You ever see a brand new skyscraper shoot up or drive over a massive new bridge and just wonder, man, how much did that thing actually cost to build? Well, way before a single shovel hits the dirt, that exact question gets answered. It's all part of this super complex, super critical process called project cost estimating. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this hidden world and see exactly how a simple blueprint gets turned into a multi-million-dollar reality. And, this isn't just some nice sounding quote. It's the absolute truth of the construction industry. The estimate is literally the financial bedrock for everything that comes next. It determines, can we even get the funding for this? Is this whole idea even possible? And probably the biggest question of all, can we build this without going totally bankrupt? You get this part wrong, and the whole thing can just crumble before it even gets started. Because a bad estimate, it can be a complete and utter catastrophe. If you underbid the job, your company could lose millions. But if you overbid, you lose the job to someone else. It's like this incredible high-wire act where precision is everything. And believe me, the fall is a long, long way down. So who is the person brave enough to walk that tightrope? Well, that brings us right into our first section. We're going to look at the estimator not as some boring accountant, but as a key player, a strategist in a very, very high-stakes game. Okay, so let's be super clear here. An estimate is not just a price list. It's a forecast. It's a calculated prediction that has to juggle hundreds of variables, everything from what the price of steel might be next year to the chances of a really rainy spring slowing things down. It's way less of an invoice and much more of a strategic roadmap for whether the project will succeed or fail. So what kind of person does it take to be great at this? Well, a really good estimator is this fascinating mix of different personalities. They need the deep technical know-how of an engineer, right? But they also have to be able to look at a flat 2D drawing and see a whole 3D building in their mind. They have to be meticulous, super precise, but also have the creative judgment to fill in the blanks when the plans aren't perfect. And on top of all that, they got to have the guts to be a calculated risk taker. It's exactly why they are some of the most essential and highest paid professionals in the whole industry. All right, so before they even think about crunching a single number, an estimator has to navigate what is basically a minefield of different variables. Any one of these can completely blow up the budget. So let's break down some of the biggest ones. And here they are. These are kind of the big 7. And trust me, each one of these is its own complicated puzzle. A tiny miscalculation in one area can send ripples through the entire budget. It's this constant dance between hard data and, honestly, professional gut feeling. Let's just take project size, for example. You'd think, right, a bigger project is just more expensive across the board. But not always. A huge project might get massive discounts on materials because they're buying in bulk. That's economies of scale. But on the flip side, a project with lots of small, repetitive tasks could be a nightmare, with constant setup and teardown that just kills your efficiency and makes labor costs soar. Complexity. This is where the cool, flashy architectural dream slams right into the hard wall of financial reality. A simple, boxy building is way, way cheaper to build than one with all these crazy curves and angles. Why? Well, think about it. Every unique shape slows workers down. Special materials need special, more expensive labor. And the taller you build, the more time you're just wasting moving people and gear up and down. Productivity tanks and costs shoot right up. And then there's location, location, location. I mean, you could take the exact same building blueprint and the price tag would be wildly different depending on its address. Building in a dense city, that's a logistical nightmare for getting materials delivered. Building out in a remote area, good luck finding enough skilled workers. Local rules, what the ground is like, it all changes the final number. So the estimator has to have deep, deep local knowledge. Okay, so here's something important to get. Not all estimates are created equal. As a project goes from just a vague idea scribbled on a napkin to a full set of detailed blueprints, the estimates have to get more and more accurate. Let's look at how they go from a rough guess to a firm guarantee. You can basically break it down into 3 main levels. At the very, very beginning, you've got the conceptual estimate. This is a super broad stroke number, like cost per hospital bed. It's just to see if the idea is even in the realm of possibility. Then, once some early drawings exist, you get a preliminary estimate, maybe based on square footage. It's better, but still has wiggle room. But the one that really matters, the one that becomes part of the contract, is the detailed estimate. And you can only do that once every single nut and bolt has been planned out. So we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get our hands dirty with the how. How does an estimator actually take all this info and mash it all together into that final number? It's a really methodical process, almost like building the project itself, just on paper first. First things first, you've got to split all the costs into two big buckets. You have your direct costs. This is the obvious stuff, right? The bricks, the steel, the paychecks for the crew, the cost of renting that giant crane. But then you have the indirect costs, and these are just as crucial. This is the job-specific overhead, the site manager's salary, the temporary office trailer, security fences, electricity for the site. If you forget these, a winning bid can quickly become a financial disaster. And the process itself? It's incredibly structured. It all starts with deep dive research, going through every single page of the plans and, super importantly, actually visiting the site. Then comes the real heavy lifting, what they call the takeoff, where every single material, every single work hour is painstakingly counted. After that, they put a price on all those quantities. Then they go out and get bids from all the specialized subcontractors. And finally, they pull all those puzzle pieces together into one big summary. It's like a funnel, with information getting more and more refined at every step. This brings us to the final summit. All the data has been collected, all the costs have been figured out. Now it's time to assemble that final bid price, the number that gets sent to the client. All right, let's build this final number. We start with the foundation, the grand total of all those direct and indirect costs we just talked about. This number represents every brick, every hour of work, and all the on-site support needed to get the job done. Next, you've got to layer on the stuff you just can't avoid, taxes. And we're not just talking about sales tax on lumber. This also includes the payroll burden for every single worker, Social Security, unemployment, all those hidden costs of having a team. But remember, the project doesn't exist in a bubble. The construction company itself has to stay in business. They've got a main office, executive salaries, a marketing team. That's the general overhead. And a little piece of that has to be covered by this project, just to keep the lights on back at headquarters. And finally, the whole reason they're taking on all this risk in the first place? Profit. Now, this is maybe the most strategic number of all. It gets tweaked up or down depending on the market, the competition. It's a real judgment call. You add that in, and there you have it, the final bid price. Every single dollar has a story behind it, and this is the number you take to the table. So the number's submitted, the bid is in, but don't think for a second the story ends there. Nailing the estimate is just one part of a much bigger, much more competitive game. At the end of the day, you have to remember that bidding really is a game. It's a contest of skill, strategy, and yeah, sometimes a little bit of luck. Getting that phone call saying you won the job, it's a huge celebration. But the real victory, the true test of a great estimate, that only comes when the project is completely finished, on time, and on budget. And that's the thought I really want to leave you with. After hearing all this, what do you think? Is creating the perfect estimate a pure science, all about numbers and formulas? Or is it more of an art form, something that relies on intuition, experience, and good old-fashioned judgment? The real answer, of course, is that it's a masterful blend of both. And it's that very blend that makes the incredible world we live in possible.